Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is a U.S. Marine, police officer, trial lawyer, singer-songwriter, entrepreneur, communication trainer, TEDx speaker and MC, and of course, rule breaker. No other than Mr. Steve Gallegos.
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
I'm fabulous, fabulous like you, Mr. Steve. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I did not mention?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. And it's just a pleasure to be here with you on this show and to join some of the other just beautiful people that you've interviewed over the number of years that you've been producing this show, Daniel. And I know it's not easy. And so, first of all, I want to thank you for doing what you do, because bringing information about books and life and how to do things better and how to be better ourselves is very, very important these days. And the fact that you're doing it on a day-to-day basis with your amazing show, it's a pleasure to be with you and your guests. So you mentioned a couple of things that I've done. And while all of that is exciting, and it has been exciting, I'm more excited about what I'm doing now and what I'm continuing to do, which is serving as an author, number one, best-selling author, and also helping others. I'm launching a book right now. As I like to say, I'm giving birth to a book. Because as you know, Daniel, once you publish a book, that's when the work really starts, right? You
Yes.
have to do the marketing and go on tour and be interviewed and engage in sales conversations with buyers and those types of activities. And so I'm giving birth to a book here in a couple of weeks. It's called Unshackled, for women who are ready to yell cut and write and direct their own lives. And the book is designed to help women identify that we are not our stories, right? Even though we're talking to a book audience here, and stories are very central to what they do and what you do in reviewing books, editorializing books, commenting on books, reading books. We're all focused on the story, but each of us have our own story, our own origin story. And that origin story, if we're not careful, becomes our story when we're adults. And then we get to the point in life we're saying, I'm a loser, I'm not tall, I'm fat, I'm broke, I can't find love, right? All of these things, all of these negative experiences that limit us from becoming the best that we can be and living our best lives. And all of that is based and rooted in story. And so just like for you book authors out there that are listening, just like you're able to change your character on a moment's notice, right? You just erase, go back, type a new dialogue for that character, a new path for that character, a new outlook for that character, a new attitude, a new experience for that character. We can do the same in our lives. And so that's why I wrote this book, is because I want people to stop and yell, and then we can rewrite and then produce and direct the life that we want to live.
Mr. Steve Gallegos, thank you so much for sharing your
Look
talent.
at that audience. Yes.
Yes, thank you for sharing your talents to the world, and we are looking forward for more empowering books to come. So, speaking of public speaking, because this is our topic for today, why is public speaking considered one of the most valuable skills for success?
That is a great question, Daniel. And having listened to some of your shows, I recognize that you ask beautiful questions, and so I'm ready for them. So bring them on.
Thank
But
you.
but this one really, public speaking is a subset or is an element of communications. Communications is the big picture that I teach. Public speaking being one portion of it. And the reason it's so important and critical to everything we do, Daniel, is because Everything we do is communication. Everything we want in life, whether it's love, sex, a job, money, career, a cup of coffee, a pizza, a sandwich, we want to ride, whatever it is we want. We usually get it from other people, and we need to know how to ask for it. We need to know how to express ourselves so that we get what it is that we're looking for. And so when it comes to public speaking, especially for authors in the book publishing community, it is a critical component. A lot of authors I know just love to sit in their studios and write a book, let the book go out into the marketplace, but then they're afraid to talk about it, or they don't know what to say about it because everything is in their book and they think, well, the book speaks for itself. But the reality is, yes, people are interested in the book. People are interested in the characters of your book. People are interested in the plot line and the stories, but we're more interested and we want to get invested in the author. So who is the author? So you as the author must know how to speak about yourself, whether it's on an interview, a wonderful podcast like this, in an article, on a radio show, television, in a public setting where you're giving a book tour and you're signing books, public signing at a bookstore. You want to be able to share who you are, your story, not just about the book, but where you came from, why you wrote the book, where you're going. And this is how people are going to invest in you. And once they invest in you, Daniel, you know this very well. They'll buy your next book. They'll buy the book after that, and they'll buy the book after that. And if you're not going to write a book for a while, they're going to send you emails saying, hey, Daniel, when's your next book coming out? Right? That's the place you want to get to. That's the place you want to be. And the only way to get there, yes, producing a great product, a great book is number one, but closely behind that is your ability to communicate about yourself and then share your story with the world.
Certainly. Mr. Steve, beautifully articulated. Thank you for your knowledge. So, how can improving speaking skills lead to increased financial opportunities?
Another great question. How can public speaking skills lead to your increased financial worth, if you will? How to get money into your bank account? Well, probably a lot of your audience, Daniel, is familiar with a gentleman named Warren Buffett, who has for a long time been one of the wealthiest men in the world for many, many years. He's not just a tech startup founder that created an AI robot and, received billions of dollars from investors overnight. Mr. Buffett has done it old school way. He's done it by investing in companies. And one of the things that he did early on, and he says he was super afraid of this, is learning how to speak in public. And the reason that he decided that he needed to do this is because he wasn't making very much money. People were not paying attention to him. So he invested in himself and he invested in a public speaking class. And that act alone changed his entire life. And it allowed him to build wealth more than any other skill than he's ever developed for himself. And it's true. Studies show that if you become effective public speaker, you can get about a 50% increase in your job salary because your company, your boss is willing to pay you more because you have the ability to speak. What does this mean? Well, what do salespeople do for companies? Right? What do book publishers need? Book publishers need people in their ranks, editors, for example, that know how to speak so that when they're speaking to book buyers, they know what to say, they know how to say it, they know when to remain silent, which is also very important, and they know how to use their tone. They know when to be aggressive. They know when to bring it down a little bit. They know when to use humor. and they know how to ask beautiful questions. All of this is encompassed in my communications training. And so the idea of you making more money is rooted in the fact that communications has to be your number one skill as an employee, as a startup founder, because you need to go and raise money from investors. You need to know what to say. Let's say it's got nothing to do with business in your profession, but you want to get a date with that girl or the guy. You need to know what to say so that he or she will be interested in you. And then it's not just asking them out on a date, because once you're on a date, that's your stage, right? That's your stage. That's your opportunity where you're going to make the best impression, or you're going to fall flat on your face. And if you fall flat on your face, she's not going to give you her phone number. You're not going to get to see her again. And you're going to be left wondering, what did I do? What did I say? Chances are it's what you didn't say. Or maybe what you did say, but you said it in an awkward or an incorrect manner, that your message was not delivered well. And so, Daniel, a lot of people say, well, they were mistaken. They mistook what I said. They misunderstood me. They weren't listening. But here's the thing. If we feel that the other person is not listening, or if we feel that our message has not been received well by the other side, guess whose responsibility that is? 100% on me. It's 100% on us, the communicator, because we're the ones that must pay attention to our audience. Like right now, I get the privilege of looking at Daniel. I get to see his eyes. And so I get to see Daniel's eyes reacting when I say something that he's interested in. And so when I see that Daniel's reacting positively to something I say, I want to dive deeper into that, or I want to encourage that, or I want to comment on that, right? And I want to say, Daniel, you like that, didn't you? Let me tell you more about this. Now look at Daniel's smile grows even bigger and bigger, because even though I'm the one that's speaking, I'm watching Daniel as part of the communication process.
Certainly. Invest like Warren Buffett, people, in everything, in stocks, in public speaking. So
Yes, in yourself. Invest in
yes,
yourself first, right? A lot
yes,
of us are focused on, well, what's Amazon doing this week? Or what's Delta Airlines doing? Or United Airlines, right? Boeing. Should I invest in Boeing because airplanes keep falling out of the sky? No. Invest in yourself first. Take
first,
that money, take $1,000 a month or $10,000, whatever it is that you're going to put in a company in stocks, and buy that program, attend that class, attend that workshop. Whether you work with me or anybody else, elevate. This is the number one skill, because if you can speak, you can sell. If you can sell, oh my goodness, your own books, you can
yes,
sell products for whatever company. You'll earn all the money that you could ever want,
yes, you can earn the money that you deserve.
that you deserve.
Yes. So, Mr. Steve, what are the key differences between public speaking and everyday conversation?
Great question, Daniel. Everyday conversation is something that we're always engaged in, right? We're talking to our parents, to our kids, to our spouse, to our husband, our wife, our girlfriend, boyfriend, brother, sister, friend. Those conversations, they happen every day. And you don't necessarily need a particular focus. You could just wake up, look over at your spouse, and talk about whatever. Talk about the kids, talk about the dog, talk about the weather, and those kinds of things. That's what we do every day. But when we're public speaking, and public speaking, I refer to when you're speaking to somebody in a business setting, when you are presenting, right? This is another area of public speaking. When you're presenting to, let's say, a city council or to a government official, or as a trial lawyer, I've done thousands of presentations to judges and juries, right? We call them arguments or presenting motions, but it's essentially we're speaking in public. There's other people in the courtroom. when we're doing this, right? And we're being judged on the merits of what we say. So public speaking has to have a focus. And I teach there are 4 reasons, Daniel, only 4 reasons why you should ever open your mouth to speak in public. Number 1 is to inform. Number 2 is to educate, and I'll go over these in a second. Number 3 is to entertain, and number 4 is to persuade. Those are the only 4 reasons. And if you master these 4 reasons, you can get up on any stage, anytime, anywhere, and give a quality presentation that will leave people wanting to have you back or seeking you out for your expertise. What do I mean by inform? Inform is very simple. Like, we all watch the weather report, right?
Yes.
And what do the meteorologists tell us? It's hot today. It's going to be cool tomorrow. That's it, right?
Yes.
Sunny today, cloudy tomorrow. That's information. They're not teaching you anything. You're not being educated. You're not being persuaded. You're not being entertained, unless they're wearing a clown outfit or something. But for the most part, they're just saying, hot today, chilly tomorrow, whatever the case may be. That's information. Education. It's hot today because now they're giving you a reason that it's hot today. It's hot today because we live close to the equator, and today the sun happens to be, and I'm just making this up. I don't know if the sun ever passes over the equator or not. And so if there's any meteorologists, if there's any authors listening to this that know that what I'm saying is a bunch of made up stuff, yes, I'm declaring it now. It is made up, right? It's hot today because the sun is out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the sun will be out for 8 hours today, and it'll be hotter today than it was tomorrow, right? And so they're telling you because, right? That's educating you, right? Mm. The reason, City Council, that I'm asking for this provision in the municipal code to change is because our children need new playgrounds. And studies show that by having activities, safe activities for kids to do in their own private or school playground or in the city park, the children are able to develop better social skills. They're able to maintain their weight, their physicality. They're able to develop confidence about themselves, et cetera, et cetera. See, so now I'm educating City Council on why we should have playground equipment in a park. Again, I'm just making this stuff up. So that's educate. Number 3 is to entertain. To go on stage and entertain, you can be a singer, a dancer, a comedian, a podcast host, right? A podcast guest. And you're telling jokes or you're making people laugh. Like just a few moments ago, Daniel chuckled. I got a chuckle out of Daniel because I said something goofy, right? So he's entertained too. And so you can do this. Even if you're a serious public speaker talking about a very serious topic, you can say something funny and humorous in there to make your audience laugh. I did this many times. I remember doing this once with a judge. I asked the judge to do something for my client, and she says, looking at my papers, and she says, Mr. Gallegos, you must be dreaming if you think that I'm going to grant this motion. I said, you know what, Your Honor? You're right. I am dreaming because I'm a dreamer. And last night I dreamt that you were the judge who was going to grant this request today. And she kind of paused and smile broke out on her face and she shook her head and she said, all right, tell me more. So she invited me to have a further discussion rather than just shutting me off, because I used a little bit of humor, which entertained her, which is different than just saying, well, Your Honor, that's not fair. You know, my client deserves to be heard and blah, 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 like a lot of lawyers do. Yes. But I used a little different tactic, and she ended up granting our request at the end of the day. So you can entertain, you can sing and dance. I go on a lot of podcasts because I'm also a former singer-songwriter, and I sing. Right? I'll sing at the top of the show. I just go la 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 la, you know, and get my host excited, and do something different. And then, so the 4th reason is to persuade. Persuade is when you come out and you say, it's going to be hot today. So because this heat and the sun and the UV rays that are produced by the sun are known to cause serious damage to your skin if you go outside and unprotected. So I'm encouraging folks, if you go outside today, please wear a hat, wear sunscreen, wear long sleeves, wear bright colors, white colors, right? Don't wear dark or blacks because blacks soak the sun in. Wear white, wear long pants, protect yourselves, right? Don't stay out in the sun too long. Go for short periods, back and forth. And so now I'm persuading, right? I've done a couple of things there. I did inform, told you it was going to be hot. I educated you. I said, here's what could happen if the sun will burn your skin, right? And how. And then I persuaded you to take some preventative measures. So in that particular example, I used 3 elements of the 4 reasons why you should ever open your mouth to speak in public.
Certainly. Very well said, Mr. Steve. Very well said. Would you be my guest on my other podcast, Law 101? I have another podcast which I believe that ignorance of the law excuse no one. So empowering law for all over the world. So please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about Mr. Donald Trump gold visa. So,
Big topic.
Mr. Steve, I'm inviting you on Law 101.
Well, thank you.
So,
Yes, I'd be honored to be a guest on Law 101.
thank you so much. So, how can storytelling enhance a speaker's impact?
Another beautiful question. Let me put it this way. The majority of your audience are authors and people interested in books, right? Publishers, editors. And there's thousands and thousands of books written every day on probably the same subject. Let's say it's romance novels. How many romance novels are there written, Daniel? Do you happen to know?
That's
101 book writers? Yeah. In the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, right? And those are the only the ones that we know about, right? Those are the ones that have been published that we know about. There's so many others that have been published privately or quietly or maybe not promoted or marketed as well. So we don't know about them very much. So in order for you to stand out, for example, as a romance novel publisher, it's not enough to say, my book is a unique one kind of story. One of a kind story. Well, because the person that you're speaking to, usually it's a publisher or a book buyer or an audience that you're interested in having purchase your book. Maybe it's a director of an organization that hires authors or speakers to come in and they might be interested in purchasing your book. It's not enough to say it's a romance novel. It's a book about love. It's a book about, a love story where boy meets girl and boy loses girl and then boy finds girl and they run off and get married and live happily ever after, right? That's the plot for hundreds and thousands of these books. So how about telling the story of the characters? My book is about John, who grew up thinking that he was worthless, that he didn't exist, that he didn't have any value to offer the world. And John wanted to commit suicide because he thought he was worthless. And John happened to have a friend from work, from his job, whose name is Mary, and Mary recognized John's dilemma, that he was down, that he was hurt, that he was in pain, that he was suffering. And she gave him a book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And she encouraged John to read it. And John read it, and he said he didn't understand very much of it, but he understood enough that he knew that if all he had to do was change his thoughts and he could change his world, And as a result of that, John went out and he wrote his own book to help people overcome their desires to commit suicide and their feelings of worthlessness, and showing them how to love themselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what this book is about. Which of the two books would you buy?
The second one,
The second one, of course. Why?
it's more elaborate on the
Not
content of
only
the book.
exactly more elaborate, but it's based on relatable story. We all know someone who's hurting. We all know someone who has had commit suicide, has thoughts of committing suicide. Perhaps we ourselves have felt that deeply despair someday. And so we can connect with that person. And so now we can connect with the characters in the book. And so whether we're talking about Daniel, the character in the book, to promote and market our book, or whether we're talking about ourselves, this is how we distinguish ourselves from the other authors. We go to our publisher and we say, and the publisher says, I have 100 books about romance novels and boy meets girl and all these things. Why should I invest in you rather than any of the number of other authors that come to my door and say that they want us to publish them? And it's because you tell your story. You just don't say, well, I'm an author and I've written 15 books before this, and 2 of them were bestsellers on Amazon, and it's just what I do, and it's what I love to do, and I want to write more books, and blah, blah, blah. They've heard that 1,000 times. They want to know your story. Tell them how you started writing books, why you started writing books, why writing books is so important to you. Let them inside to see the real you. Let them inside your heart to see that this is more than just a money-making opportunity or adventure for you. Yeah, we all want to make money, but it's more important for us to share who we are. Because again, people will invest in you, not necessarily your product right away. But once they're invested in you, as I gave the example before, Daniel, they'll be calling you for your next book. And they'll be putting pressure on you. When can we see you again? When can we hear you again? When are you going to do your next tour? When are you going to give your next talk? When are you going to give your next book? And so it's all about telling the story. What makes you different from the other authors? What makes you different from the other restaurant down the street that also sells the best pizza in Vancouver, right? Or the best poutine, because Canada, you guys have poutine there in Canada. So they all sell poutine. What makes your poutine different? Well, because it's a recipe from my grandmother. And she used the recipe from her grandmother. And this is back before anybody knew what poutine was. She put it in a bowl, and she didn't have a job. And my grandfather was sick. My great-grandfather was sick because he had hurt himself on the farm. And so she knew that she had to find a way to go out and make money for the family because she was the breadwinner at that point. So she created these French fried potatoes, and she said, let me put some cheese curds on it with beautiful gravy. And she went and gave it to a neighbor, and the neighbor says, oh my gosh, Mildred, this is so good. You should go out and sell it. And that gave Mildred the idea. So she went into the kitchen. She made 10 more bowls of poutine, and she went and gave it to the neighbors. And the neighbors said, oh my gosh, Mildred, this is so good. You should sell it and call it poutine. And that's how the story of poutine was born, right? Isn't that way better than saying, this is the best poutine in Vancouver?
Certainly, Mr. Steve. And again, the very, very articulated, beautifully articulated. So, what will be your short-term and long-term goal as a podcaster, as a lawyer, as an author, as a public speaker?
That's a lot. That's a lot of questions. So what are my short-term and long-term goals for all of these various elements of these not chapters necessarily, but I like to call them the colors on my palette, right? We all have a palette, a color palette, and I have a lot of colors on my palette. You may have a lot of colors on your palette too. That's a beautiful thing. Or you may only have one or two or three colors. That's a beautiful thing also, right? As long as you're happy and fulfilled. But in answer to your question, Daniel, my mission has been for many, 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 many years to elevate others so that we can all contribute to society at a higher level. What does that mean? That means that I want to elevate you by keeping you safe through my experience and guidance as a lawyer. I want to elevate you by showing you how to be better and live a better life through my experience and work as an author and as a communications coach and trainer. And really, it's just doing something on a day-to-day basis, doing one thing on a day-to-day basis that continues that progression, that continues that movement that I created a long time ago, whether it's going out and helping my neighbor shovel the sidewalks of snow, because here in Colorado we've had a lot of snow lately, and we have more snow coming soon. Or baking, a batch of chocolate chip cookies and giving them to the other neighbor, or coming on a podcast like this and serving, right? Giving of my time and wisdom and experience to audiences like yours, doing something every single day toward that goal. I don't think about it necessarily in 5 or 10 years. I think about it as in every day. Am I meeting my objective? And so far, the answer is yes. Thanks to you, because I get to be on your show today.
And good congratulations and good luck for your goals in every day. As you're saying to your website, discover your best self. Oh, expect guidance for personal growth, powerful communication, and deep connections. So, what would be your advice for those people out there that want to try to be a public speaker?
The first thing you need to know, excellent question, Daniel. What do you need to know in order to be a public speaker? My first question to you is why? You need to be able to answer why. And why, this is a beautiful question for yourself to ask in anything that you want to do that's different from what you're doing now. Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to have kids? Why do you want to have a job? That job. Why do you want to move? Why do you want a new car? Why do you want more money? Why do you want to be a public speaker, right? Why is the most foundational, basic, best question that you can ask, because that why is going to tell you whether or not you even should pursue public speaking. If you say, I want to be a public speaker to make lots of money, I'm going to say, you know what? You can make more money selling pizzas, right? Right? Or selling poutine or selling lemonade on a corner or something like that. Public speaking is not necessarily about making money as the primary reason. Yes, you can make a lot of money if you follow the skills and the tips and the strategies that I've given you on this show of developing your overall communication skills, not just your public speaking skills, right? So that's the first question that I would ask you is why. And so if your reasons are genuine and authentic and honest, then the next step that I would say is you need to seek training. Seek quality training, whether it's from me or there's other public speaking trainers where you live, I'm sure, and you could do a Google search or a search on Instagram or Facebook. But find yourself a quality public speaker trainer that can help you develop the message that you want to share with the world. Maybe you want to share your origin story. Maybe you want to share your story of how you survived divorce, or how you survived cancer, or how you survived an abusive relationship, or how you developed your career, right? Went from working in the stockroom to being an executive in the company. Whatever your story is, whatever your message is, you have to have a message in order to go out and speak in public. And then the third thing I would say is And here's probably the most important thing, Daniel, that I'm going to say the entire show. The most important thing about public speaking is there's this idea out there that's been promoted for years and years and years that there is a fear, that we're afraid of public speaking. I'm going to tell you that that's a lie. That is a lie that they've told you, that they want you to believe in order to keep you silent. I do not believe that we are afraid of public speaking. We're afraid of something, but we're not afraid of public speaking. Do you want to know what we're afraid of?
What, Mr. Steve?
I was hoping you'd ask, Daniel.
What are you afraid of, Mr. Steve?
We're afraid of making a mistake. That's it. Pure and simple. We're afraid of making a mistake. Why? Because when we were little and we were in class and the teacher said, I have a question, and who's got the answer? And you raised your hand and you gave an answer and everybody laughed at you because it was the wrong answer. Remember?
True.
Yeah, we've all had that experience. That day, most of us made a vow. That's it. I'm never going to raise my hand in class again. Because we didn't want people to laugh at us. We didn't want people to judge us. We didn't want people to criticize us, to ridicule us, to embarrass us. And so we said, that's it. I'm never going to raise my hand. But if you don't raise your hand, ladies and gentlemen, you're never going to have a beautiful book published. You're never going to be a New York Times bestseller. You're never going to have a highly successful podcast like Mr. Daniel Lucas does. You're never going to be the CEO of a company. You're not going to be the president of the mayor of your city, or the president of whatever it is that you want to be the president of. You need to learn how to public speak. And if you just get rid of the idea that you're afraid, take a step forward, little step forward, you can do it, and I'm rooting for you.
Yes, indeed. So I learned two things to Mr. Steve today. Invest like Warren Buffett in everything. And number two, don't afraid to commit mistake, because mistake make you perfect in the future. Not perfect, but make you better, for sure. Mr. Steve Gallegos, thank you so much for your knowledge that you impart on Book 101 review. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your projects, being a lawyer, being a public speaker, and an author?
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I'd love to do that. But first, I want your audience to contact you. So audience, as you're listening, I want you to send a message, or if you have his phone number, call him. If you know where he lives, show up at his doorstep with a gift and say, Daniel, thank you so much for producing this show and for introducing us to guests like Steve and all the other wonderful guests that you've had on. And then if you can't get a hold of Daniel because he's too busy with people at his doorstep thanking him, you can follow me at Stevie G Success on Facebook and Instagram, or you can go to my website that Daniel has been showing during this broadcast, steviegsuccess.com. And let's connect, and anything I can do to help you and serve you, I'm happy to do it.
Certainly. Discover your best self, expert guidance for personal growth, powerful communication, and deep connections. Mr. Steve Gallegos, again, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. I have Music 101 too, if you are interested to sing La La Land.
Oh, sole mio, oh, sole mio. Oh, I am ready. Music 101.
Yes.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, let's do it. Law 101, Music 101. Yeah, let's do it.
I like Bésame,
Bésame mucho,
I love
como
that.
si fuera esta noche la última vez. Yes, beautiful song.
So please do come on Music 101 and let's talk about your music. More to come, people. See you soon.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Mr. Steve, as I said, please.